Hey, and welcome to this week's Money Monk Monday. And I am talking about stress and its impact on money making. Of course, we're all aware of the impact it has on the health and also the peace of mind that you could experience if you had the absence of stress. Now, I work day in and day out with entrepreneurs and business owners and investors. And here's a fact. It's just a complete fact. The quality of your financial outcomes are all related to how well you use this thing, your brain, your thinking. And typically when I first start working with clients, I've got to get them to overcome all sorts of programming that they've inherited from the school system and the upbringing so that they think like a high-level entrepreneur or investor or wealth creator, which is all about building income-producing assets that run independently of you. So from a business perspective, I have a huge history of working with business owners and helping them set up systems and automate the way that they do business and set up their teams so that they can enjoy the profit of their business without having to be there all the time. And as I said, that takes the ability to upgrade your thinking. I was working with a client today, someone who I really, really like, and I saw a pattern that was constantly downgrading their thinking. But not only was it downgrading their thinking, it had a massive impact on their peace of mind. It had a massive impact on not only money making, but every other area of their life. And I've realized that a lot of people live in this state. So this state is one of anxiety or low-grade stress. And if you experience this, you'll know what I mean. It means your mind's just thinking way too fast. You've got that sort of anxious-y feeling, and it could be going on for hours upon hours upon hours, as it was with this particular client. And what's interesting is that they're sort of aware of the damage this stress does, but they're addicted to it. And everyone watching this or who will watch this, let me just say this as a truth. You are addicted to the states of consciousness, the emotions, and the feelings that the belief systems that rule you give you. You're addicted to it. So you might be saying, I want another reality. I want to feel differently. I want a different outcome. But your entire body mind is habituated to the feelings that you have and have had for many years because you are a pattern being, meaning we run from habit. We are addicted to the habit of being ourselves. So let's talk about this person and what was undermining to them. Well, first of all, this person is a doer. They constantly do, and they've got this nervous sort of upbeat. They speak really quickly, and when I'm with them, they're sort of like jumping out of their skin. And they've been like this for many, many years. So first rule of thumb for an entrepreneur, anyway, who wants to build a business system that runs independently of them, is you only work in your gifts, in your highest dollar productive, which puts you in your highest dollar productive zone. So as an example, I don't do the bookkeeping. I don't set up my schedule. I don't run my calendar system. I don't deal with admin. I just do what I am designed to do. Now, what am I designed to do? I'm a communicator and I read people and I'm a strategist. Those things are quite natural to me. So that's what I do. And that puts me in my highest dollar productive zone. I employ people that are gifted at doing the books, at running my scheduling system, that help set up my back end for me, that might deal with the more functional and tedious elements of my business. They're gifted at that, I'm gifted at this, So we can all get about doing what we love, and that puts us in our highest dollar productive zone. However, this person, driven by this constant sense of stress, just keeps doing and not thinking about highest productive zone, not choosing the jobs that she suits, not putting the right team members in. So this nervous anxiety, this stress downgrades her ability to prioritize, because prioritizing only happens when you take time out to think about what other priorities. The key word there is time out. To structure your team, you have to take time out from doing to think strategically, to rest and relax and allow your unconscious mind to give you input, because that's far more able to give you good input than your logical mind when you know how to work with your unconscious mind. And if you're a brain science person, you could say that a different way, that if you take time out, all areas and relax and drop your brain waves from beta down into alpha into theta, all areas of the brain light up, especially the creative areas, and they merge with the logical areas, and you'll get what we call pattern input, unconscious understandings that you would not get if you just stayed in logic. On a very practical level, stress is related to being in the beta mind state, and especially the high beta mind state, for way too long. It triggers the amygdala and it triggers the adrenal cortex, so the body moves into this state of sort of anxious fear and stress. And when it does that, you're more flight or fight, you'll be moving quickly, thinking really quickly, blood's pumping through the body, but less of the brain is firing. The prefrontal cortex gets way less blood flow when the amygdala's being spiked, which sets off the adrenal complex. Now, that has a massive negative impact on the body. Massive. But again, it downgrades the entrepreneur's ability to think strategically, think effectively, and to prioritize. Now we get to the important bit. Well, before we get into it, just understand that this person I'm talking about is kind of aware of the damage that it does. Not only to them as a business person, as an investor, and they're a property developer, but they're also aware of what it's doing to their health, their body, their immune system, their relationships, and their peace of mind. However, they are also habituated, which is what I started this Money Monday off with. They're habituated to being that way. That is what they know. That is how they operate. And that is just a natural tendency of their body mind to move towards that anxiousness, that stress state. And you can talk to them about it, and they can go, I don't want to be stressed. But they won't do what needs to be done to shift the stress. Okay, so let's talk about what needs to be done to shift the stress. Well, first of all, in this particular person's case, they have some physical issues impacting their anxiety and their stress. Now, the physical issues started as a result of being in prolonged stress states, and that impacts gut permeability. So the gut wall doesn't work the same, so all of a sudden we've got leaky gut, proteins heading into the blood, that impacts the adrenals. So there's a breakdown that happens in the body when a person exists in that chronic state. And life is a feedback mechanism, so if you've got health issues because of stress, you would want to do something. But as I said, you can say, I want to do something or I want to be something, but you will naturally gravitate back towards the habitual conditioning. So let's get into that. So in this client, at an early age, she grew up in a rural family. And I've had a great deal of work, done a great deal of work with business owners that have come from rural families. In rural families, the father, in this particular case, and just in rural families in general, if they come from farming stock, as teenagers, the teenagers lying around having fun, so this is exactly what happened to this person, the father would just stare at her and just give her mean looks and basically tell her to get off the couch and go and do something. So right from a young age, she learnt through family conditioning that I am only valid and worthwhile when I am doing. So if we just extrapolate that a little bit more, in a farming family, Dad wants all hands on deck. Dad wants everyone working all the time, and he wants all the family to think that way because that's going to help the family farm, help them survive if everyone is working all the time. So she grows up, as I said, with the belief system, if I'm doing nothing, I'm a waste of space. I'm useless. I'm hurting people. Okay? That's the unconscious, because in the family, if she was doing nothing, that's how the father perceived it. You're undermining the family. Now, this lady's in her 50s, but as we know from this work, doesn't matter. You can have things happen when you're 5 years of age, and because you haven't dealt with them, because you haven't learned what we teach people, which is how to get into the unconscious and change things and transform things, it'll still stay there. So here she is now as a business owner, property developer and investor. And this stress is just rampant in her still to this day, even though she left the family environment something like 38 years ago. And so a simple way of dealing with stress is reset your brain through meditation. All the science is there. It's really easy to understand. Now, if you've got chronic stress like she has, every time during the day, what you've got to do is you've got to reset yourself. So through meditation, you establish normal, I want to talk about normal for a bit, normal peace. I'll say that again. Through meditation, you reset yourself back to normal levels of peace. The rest of the world are living habituated to being stressed. And they don't know what it's like to be deeply peaceful. So this person that I'm talking about has not truly yet has a mental model or a framework for deep peace. Now, I'm a good one to talk about this because for many years, my entire life was set up for action and excitement. And I realised at a certain age, and I'm kind of fine with it, but it got to a certain point where it was impacting me negatively, where my entire life was about excitement, adventure, being on edge, and that gave me many, many good experiences in life. But also because of things that happened to me as a child, I was constantly on alert, unconsciously on alert. So if you have some trauma as a child, where something happened that shouldn't have happened in normal everyday life, or something that happened outside of what would be considered normal. So as an example, if someone had a car crash, right? In the safest area, driving along, they have a car crash. On the unconscious level, they'll stay high alert again. Geez, because even when I'm really safe, all these horrible things could happen. So things like that on the unconscious level set up this hypervigilance. So I had hypervigilance because of what happened to me, and a personality that was wired for being on the edge. I realized I had to reset that, and this is how I reset it. I've always been a meditator, but I increased it. So I'd meditate in the morning, and then during the day, the moment I would feel myself getting edgy, getting stressed, I would meditate, and it was a discipline. I'll talk about this discipline, about why it's important. So a total discipline. Because I had to get to the point where I understood that being peaceful and coming from a deeply peaceful place was way more important to me than wanting to get things done or achieve this or achieve that. I had to make peace the priority. So again, I'd meditate in the morning, and then during the day, the moment I would feel stress, and I would take another 10, 15 minutes out, do some breathing exercises, put on a meditation audio, and I would drop my brain waves. I'd go back to work. In that afternoon, if I could feel the stress coming in again, I would go back and meditate. So in doing that, I'm doing a couple of things. First of all, I am showing my mind that I'm not willing to live with its addictions to the stressed state. I'm dropping my brain waves constantly throughout the day, which gives me deep senses of peace. And then that deep sense of peace started to become an everyday normality after about 3 or 4 months. Okay, so I went from meditating in the morning and maybe in the evening to during the day, and every time I saw it, priority, come back to peace. Now, through doing that, I reset in my brain what was a normal state. So the normal state soon became peace. And then from that peaceful state, as I started to really enjoy that and love that and make that the new norm, anything that was stressful in me, because remember, stress is actually just your response to what's happening out there. It's not out there for the most part. Most things aren't that stressful. It's just that your mind makes them stressful. Every time I would experience that, I'd go, I don't want this, and I would drop it. So that's the dedication and the training. So this client will find that really hard to do, because the challenge is, as I said, when something is normal to you, even if you don't like it, you will go to that norm. Now, in this particular person's case, this is what goes on. She has a part of her, a subpersonality, so a part of her personality that makes up her whole personality, that feels alive and vital and valid and right when she's stressed and working really hard without thinking, right? It's dumb work versus smart work. So smart work is we use our brains to be strategic, then we do hard work. Okay? Dumb work is the opposite of what I said before. It's just doing work, which you should not do as an entrepreneur. You just should not. Okay? You're setting up a machine, a system that requires using this thing. So, as an example, as she's in the stress state, this part of her's going, look how much I'm getting done. Look how much I'm getting done. I'm fulfilling my family script. See, Daddy, look how hard I'm working. Look how well I'm doing. Okay? And not only that, when she stops, the unconscious script, which says, oh, I'm not worthwhile when I do nothing. If I do nothing, I'm a nobody. I won't be loved, kicks off. So those two patterns will keep her in that cycle unless she's willing to start to see those patterns fully and starts to push against those patterns by doing the opposite. So when these patterns say, work hard, you've got to get this done, you've got to get it done, she's going to go, no, I'm going to go and do the opposite, which is to now meditate or do something that calms the mind, but meditation is the best for that. So she resets it as her new norm. If she resets it as a new norm, what will happen is her brain will start working better. She won't be compulsive in her workaholism. She will start to get better ideas, because that's what happens as you lower your brainwave state from high beta down to alpha and theta. As I said before, because more of your brain fires. Left and right hemisphere in that model start working together, so you get really good creative insights. Your brain, your logical areas of the brain will start working better. So just be really aware of that. Ask yourself this question: am I habituated to a kind of constant or chronic state of stress that I'm now normalizing and just accepting? It's smart if you can see that and go do what you need to do to quieten down the brain. There'll be massive benefits from a financial perspective, in your relationships, your sense of self, and in your money-making pursuits. Till Wednesday, catch up.